Good afternoon, students. Today we are going to talk about Unit 4 functions and pointers. We already discussed some of the points about functions, that is user-defined functions and library functions in our classrooms. Before that, we are studying about pointers with array, pointers to pointers, pointers with strings. We are discussed. In the Unit 4, we are discussing about mainly about the functions, how we are going to use the functions, what is the difference between user-defined functions, and what is the difference between library way functions and syntax also. Introduction. In the introduction, why we are started using the functions. The strength of a C language is a C function. They are easy to define and use. When we are started using the function means it is easy to define and use. We have used functions in every program that we have discussed so far. What functions we are using in C language, it is the main function that is already defined one. However, they have been primarily limited to the three functions, namely main, printf and scanf. These three functions we frequently using in our C programming language. The C functions can be classified into two categories, namely library functions and user-defined functions. Main is an example of user-defined function. Printf and scanf belonging to the category of library functions. The main distinctions between the two categories is that library functions are not required to return by us. Library functions, it is a default system generated functions. It is more or less equivalent to packages. Nowadays people are started using the packages. What is the requirement of the customer side? Based on that we will create the package and distribute it to the system or software applications. Like that, printf and scanf, it is already defined one in our C programming language. That is called as a library functions. The library itself, we know that a library having a lot of books. In that books, we will go and refer some materials. Like that, printf and scanf or max.h header files, if we include means what will happen, we are going to use some max functions. So based on the max functions, max.h, we are going to use some max functions. For example, finding out the square root or adding two numbers or some calculations methodology, we use some library functions. So library function, it is nothing but a predefined functions. Okay. Whereas user-defined function has to be developed by the user at the time of writing a program. It is very, very important. Whereas what is user-defined function means, whereas user-defined a function has to be developed by the user at the time of writing a program. However, user-defined functions can later become a part of the C program library. It maybe comes under C program library in later. In fact, this is one of the strengths of C language. Need for user-defined functions. Why we are going to use user-defined function? Every program must have a main function, that is default one, to indicate where the program has to begin its execution. While it is possible to code any program utilizing only main function, it leads to a number of problems. The program may become too large and complex, and as a result, the task of debugging, testing, and maintaining becomes difficult. Suppose if we are writing 5,000 lines or 10,000 lines or 1 lakh lines of programs, it is very difficult to find out the bugs, and testing is also very difficult, and maintaining is also very difficult. If a program is divided into functional part, each and every functional part, then each part may be independently coded and later combined into a single unit. Why we are using that user-defined function means that is the main reason. Normally, what we are doing in our lab and all, we are using only a small 5 to 10 lines or 15 to 20 lines of programs. It's not an issue there. If we find out some bug or if we find out some errors means, we will fix there itself. But when we write a program in 1 lakh lines or 2 lakh lines, it is very difficult to find the debugging is also very difficult, and the testing is also very difficult, and maintaining of that particular coding is also very difficult. So that the developing community, what they will do, they will divide the program into functional part. then each part may be independently coded and later it may be combined into a single unit.